All right, this is something that's sure to be controversial, but this has to do with the state of Florida and colleges and universities within the state of Florida. So the NAACP has asked black student athletes to reconsider Florida colleges. Now, I really don't want to get into the politics of this because there's just a no-win situation. You have people on one side or the other as far as that goes. I just want to sort of concentrate on what this means or might mean or whatever for high school recruits or even current college players who have the option of a transfer portal. Now, what has happened is for several years now, all of the public universities within the state of Florida have had an office of DEI, they call it. What it was, equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, and these colleges and universities, of course, are state funded. They get money from the government. And recently, within the last few months, the governor of the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis, signed a bill basically saying all of the public colleges and universities have to do away with that department, the DEI departments, and anything to have to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in response to that, the NAACP has issued a statement and is advising, quote unquote, black student athletes to reconsider Florida colleges. So, again, I really consider not even making this video, but here we go. If I'm a high school athlete and I'm being recruited for whatever sport, for this instance, let's talk football because that's what we do here. It's a football channel. So if I'm a high school football player, black or white, or any color or race or ethnicity or whatever for that matter, and I'm being recruited by major colleges and universities in and out of the state of Florida, what sorts of things am I going to look at a particular school to help me determine whether or not I'm going to choose to play at that school or not, or choose another school? I think the primary thing, and I've always thought this, even in the age of NIL, if you are a high school athlete who's getting recruited by major colleges and you have any desire, hope, wish, dream, whatever, of one day playing in the NFL, I think the number one thing that any player should consider is which university, which coaching staff, which head coach, which position coach, which coordinator is going to put me in the best position for the next 3 or 4 years in college to then make it to the NFL. I think that should be the primary thing that high-level high school athletes look at. Now, I'm not a high-level high school athlete. I've never been a high-level high school athlete. I played football in high school. I was nowhere close to high level. So I understand I don't have the right to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't look at or consider when choosing a university. And that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm not getting on to any high school player. I'm not anything. If you're a high-level player, you, of course, have the right to take anything or nothing into consideration when choosing where it is you want to go to school. If you want to go to the place that gives you the most NIL money and nothing else matters, that's your choice to do. If you grew up being a fan of a certain school and no matter what, you're going to that school, great. You see this a lot with in-state kids in whatever state you want to talk about, whether it's Florida, Georgia, Texas, California, South Carolina, Nevada, whatever. You have kids that grow up fans of certain schools. A lot of times it's an in-state school. And their mind is made up in 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade. Hey, if I'm good enough to play college ball, that's where I'm playing. So I'm not trying to take that away from anybody. I'm speaking solely as if I were a high-level high school athlete being recruited by major colleges and universities. If I had even an inkling that I might be good enough to one day make it or play in the NFL or get drafted or free agent onto a team or whatever, then the primary thing I'm going to look at when it comes to choosing which college I'm going to play for the next 3 or 4 years during my college career is going to be which of these schools gives me the best opportunity to showcase my talent and abilities to put myself into the NFL at some point down the road. That's the primary thing I would look at. What are some other things people could possibly consider? Well, we talked about some of them. Did you grow up a fan of a team? Do you have family connections to one school or another? Do you have family connections to a particular coach or another, right? NIL. I mean, we can't ignore NIL. Look, all of us want to make money, right? That's why we go to work. That's why we do what we do, to make a living, to support ourselves and our family or whatever. We want to make money. These high school kids getting ready to transition into college, they now have that same opportunity. So maybe that's something to consider. Which schools are going to give me the best opportunities from an NIL perspective? There's a long list of things, I think, that high school players could consider when choosing which college or university to enroll in to play in college. I'm white. I cannot put myself in a black high school player's shoes. I just can't. And a lot of times when you try to do that, it comes off the wrong way, or, you get accused of trying to speak for certain groups of people. And that's definitely not what I'm trying to do here. And again, I believe that any high school player has the right to choose whichever college they want to go to that is offered them for any reason they choose. I also think that a player has the right not to go to a school for any particular reason they choose. Now, they have the right to do it. I don't necessarily think it would be the right thing for them to do long term. If I'm a high school, a quarterback, let's say, and Miami or Florida State or Florida or Central Florida or South Florida or FIU or FAU or whatever, any of these public schools. I guess Miami's not a public school, but I think it's a private school. But anyway, if I feel like if what's most important to me as a high school player is one day getting to the NFL, I'm going to choose a school that I think gives me the best opportunity to do that. And if that school happens to be in the state of Florida, I'm still going to go to that school, despite the warning or admonishment or whatever you want to call it from the NAACP. I don't know enough about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I will say this: it's not the title, right? You're not going to find anybody anywhere who's going to say, I don't believe in equality. I don't believe in diversity. I don't believe in inclusion. Even Ron DeSantis, who has outlawed these DEI programs at public universities, you're never going to get him to say that he doesn't believe in diversity, equity, or inclusion. The issue is in the application of that in this particular instance, these DEI departments. What exactly are they doing, right? And I'm not an expert in it. I don't live in Florida. I don't go to a public university in Florida. I've never had any personal contact, relationship, or dealings with anybody in a DEI department in the state of Florida or anywhere else for that matter. But I think it's important to remember that no one is against diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's what does that mean here? And I'm not taking the side of Ron DeSantis or outlawing these things. I'm also not taking the side that they should be in every school. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is they do. Okay. I know sort of the talking points from either side. If the people that don't like Ron DeSantis or the people that are against this policy that excludes these DEI offices, they're everywhere saying, well, Ron DeSantis and them just hate diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And then Ron DeSantis and the people that are on that side of this argument go, no, we don't hate diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, it's the opposite. And these DEI programs aren't providing that. They're discriminatory by nature. They're propping up or giving benefit of the doubt or favoritism to certain races of people. Again, I'm not expressing an opinion one way or the other on it because I don't feel like I'm qualified to do it. And that's not really the point of this video. It's just hard to make this video without at least mentioning what DEI is and means. But again, depending on who you ask, you're going to get different definitions. I don't think anyone is against the idea of diversity or equity or inclusion. It's what does that mean when it's applied in a real life situation? That is sort of the sticking point, right? It's kind of like when you start talking about the critical race theory, right? I can't tell you what critical race theory is. I don't know. I know the arguments around it, right? I know that this side hates it and this side loves it. I don't really know what it is. And I've never really met anybody that does know what it is. I don't really know what these DEI offices do, so I'm not expressing an opinion on it one way or the other. My opinion, and again, it's mine only, and I'm not telling any high school athlete what to do. I don't have that authority or the right. That they have the right to choose any school they want to go to that will have them. And I'm just saying me, which doesn't mean anything. I get it because I'm a middle-aged white guy. So again, I'm not putting this video out to change anybody's mind. I'm not putting this video out to come down on one side or the other of the entire DEI argument as it applies to college and universities as a whole, or how it applies just specifically to college football. That's not what I'm doing it. But I do think that the most important element that a high school athlete should weigh when determining where they want to go to college is which coaching staff, school, program, coordinator, whatever, gives me the best position to get myself into the NFL 3-4 years down the road. If I'm a black athlete and that college or that university is in the state of Florida, is this admonishment from the NAACP enough to make me change my mind? There's no way for me to answer that. I'm not black, and I'm not going to get on here and try to speak for black people or anything like that. I think just like a player has the right to choose not to go to this school because they're not offering as much NIL as the other school, even though I may disagree with that decision, right? I can disagree with the decision and still agree that the player has the right to make that decision. That's how I would look at NIL. If Georgia is the place to go for inside linebackers that want to make it to the NFL, right? And they're offering an inside linebacker $50,000 a year, and Vandy is offering the player $100,000 a year, and the high school player goes to Vandy so he can make $100,000 a year in college instead of $50,000 a year at Georgia. I think that's the wrong decision. Okay, but I support the player's right to make that decision to go to Vandy, if that makes sense. I guess I feel the same way about this DEI thing. I completely understand that a black athlete may choose, and I don't know if this will happen or not. I have no idea. And I'm even less sure that if it does happen, we would ever find out about it. And to give you an example, let's say that, there's a black athlete in high school that's got offers all over the country, and it comes down to Florida and Georgia, and he chooses Georgia. I don't think that player is going to come out. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think the player is going to come out and say, I chose Georgia because the NAACP said not to go to Florida. Even if that factored into his decision, I would be surprised if that would be something that a recruit would come out and say. Now, I think that would be the wrong decision for that recruit. If he felt like Florida was a better fit for him, gave him a better chance to succeed, gave him more of an opportunity to make it to the NFL, but he chose Georgia specifically because the NAACP told him not to go to Florida, I think that would be the wrong decision personally for that athlete. But I completely understand his right to make that decision. It really doesn't matter why a player chooses one university or another. They have the right to do that. I'm just not sure if it would be the right decision long term in terms of that player maybe fulfilling their goals or whatever. This video probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I maybe I'm fence riding a little bit here, and that's not typically something I do. I normally have an opinion on something, and I make a video, and I'm 100% right, and everybody else is 100% wrong, and that's just kind of the way I am with college football and kind of with things in general. this is obviously a touchy subject. That's not why I'm dancing around it. I've come out strongly multiple times on this channel when it comes to touchy subjects. Jake Fromm text messages come to mind. It's multiple things. Never forget this when you watch an Uncle Lou video, because there are going to be some people on each side of this DEI argument who watch this video and somehow come away from it hating me or whatever, okay? I have pissed off a lot of white racists in my time on this channel, and I have pissed off a lot of black racists in my time on this channel. To me, that means I'm doing it right. I don't decide issues based on color, black or white. I can talk about the Jake Fromm text messages situation. I think it was wrong. Clearly, he shouldn't have. Not only should he not have texted that, he shouldn't have the thoughts and philosophies. Like, it's just a backwards. And I don't want to relitigate that. It came out wrong. It was, you can't tell what he really meant to it. I'm not relitigating that. I'm bringing it up to state that there's a lot of white people saw that video, it clicked off, and they'll never come back to this channel, okay? I don't care. Deion Sanders isn't a good football coach. I don't think he knows what he's doing. I don't even think he's a coach at all. I think he's more like a team mom. I think he's more like a hype man, the Flava Flav of college football. I think it's a complete disaster what he is doing to Colorado, ignoring high school recruiting and going all in on the transfer portal. The guy signed 5 high school recruits this past cycle. I think that's terrible. I don't think he's ever going to be a successful head coach. Well, guess what? There's a lot of black people to hear me say that, call me a white southern redneck racist from Georgia, click off my channel and never come back. I'm happy to have both those groups of people, the people that hated me, the white people that hated me for my thoughts on Jake Fromm's text messaging scandal, and the black people that hate me for my thoughts on Deion Sanders. I'm perfectly happy to have both those groups of people gone from this channel and never come back. I sleep just fine at night. I sleep just fine. I call it like I see it. It's got nothing to do with black and white. Billy Napier is one of the worst head coaches on the planet. He's white. The fact that I don't think Deion's a good coach has nothing to do with him being black. James Franklin's one of my favorite coaches of all time. He's black. I don't have any interest in justifying myself to the retard fringe on either side of these types of arguments. I understand that diversity, equity, and inclusion is important in every aspect of life, particularly in college. I also understand that it can have the opposite effect of what you actually think it is doing. I'm not saying that's the case at the schools in Florida. I told you, I don't know. I don't know how these DEI things are implemented in practice. I don't mean football practice. I mean in real life. I don't know what goes on in a DEI office at the University of Florida. I don't know. So I don't have an opinion on that one way or the other. I am pro diversion, equity, inclusion, but again, you won't find anybody that will say they're not. It's how is that implemented? What does that mean in real life? What are the real life effects and consequences of that? I don't know. So the NAACP is advising black student athletes to reconsider Florida colleges. Don't go to school in Florida, basically, is what they're telling you. I don't think that's necessary. Again, if I'm a high-level black athlete and I think Florida is the best place for me to be, whether it's because of NIL, whether it's because I think they give me the best chance of getting to the NFL, whether it's because I love their coaching staff, whatever, that's where I'm going to go. I'm not going to change my mind because the NAACP told me to. I'm not a black athlete, though, so I'm not telling anybody what to do, black or white. Let me just end this video. I don't know if anything I said here makes any sense at all. I saw this headline today, and I thought, well, I'll make a video about it. I probably shouldn't have, because like I said, the comment section is just going to devolve into anarchy on this video, and you're going to have fringe elements on both sides that come away from this video just hating Uncle Lou. But I'll sleep just fine. Have a good morning.